What's up, y'all? It's your boy Mo Better again, coming back. I told y'all I had to show at one point in time. I'm bringing it back. It's in real life with Mo Better. I want to talk about absolutely everything through life, and you get your feedback on this. Just things that touched the thought process. Well, we back in the days we had, used to have intellectual conversations, things that really touched life and made a difference. That's rarely seen right now. We want to watch I forgot that world star hip hop fights and everything else. But the thing is, let's figure out why those things are going on. Y'all know what I do. I go to the Bible. This I believe everything in it again from Genesis to Revelations from cover to cover. And again, I use the New World Translation because I know that the New World Translation is of the original Hebrew and Greek of the terms that the Bible was really written in. And most translations are translations of translations. They say the same thing, but I look at it from a different perspective as like not from a different translation, but I see the original meanings in the words and the terminologies that were used. And again, y'all seeing these babies dying, these mothers crying, police doing everything that they doing, things of that nature. Like it said in the Bible, it said chaos continues to go on because discipline is not expedient. That's what things going on. But aside from that, we're in the last days. Like it says in 2 Timothy 3, it says, but know this, that in the last days, critical times hard to deal with will be here. For men will be lovers of themselves, lovers of money, boastful, haughty, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, disloyal, having no natural affection, not open to any agreement, slanderers, without self-control, fierce, without love of goodness, betrayers, headstrong, puffed up with pride, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God, having an appearance of godliness, but proving false to its power. And from these turn away. For among these arise men who slyly work their ways into households and captivate weak women, loaded down with sins, led by various desires, always learning and yet never able to come to an accurate knowledge of truth. Not with the same way that Janus and Jambres opposed Moses, so these also go on opposing the truth. Such men are completely corrupted in mind, disapproved as regards the faith. Nevertheless, they will make no further progress, for their folly will be very plain to all, as it was with those two men. They're talking about what happened to Janus and Jambres, and what they're talking about, these men that mislead these women are preachers and ministers from every sect and situation, because the truth is coming out right now. And we're in the last days, and these men are leading people on in situations. We're getting tithes another day, but you paying tithes when there's no more Aaronic priesthood. So why are you paying tithes? Being told that you must pay tithes. And guess who do that the majority of the times? Women. Women are filled with, and churches are filled with women, right? What about the the lovers of themselves, lovers of money, boastful, haughty, blasphemous, disobedient to parents? Remember when you can go anywhere in the world and get whooped by a parent because you can be in China and get whooped by another parent if a kid was disrespectful. Why isn't that going on today? Because they're haughty, they're betrayers, headstrong, and puffed up with pride, and they have no natural affection. You didn't hear a lot of times to where people were killing like their family members for the insurance money, or just to do it, or because they're angry, because they got high. You didn't hear about women killing babies, especially, I'm gonna keep it real, especially not black people. We wasn't killing each other and babies. We didn't do that. And now that's going on. Why is that? That's because we're in the last days. Now, why is that going on? That's in 2 Timothy 3, right? Talks about that. And that's because the situation is this. You go to 2 Corinthians 4 and you start at verse 3, it says, these things are happening because, in fact, now, when you look at James, it says that we are all drawn out and enticed by our own desires. First thing is, why are we being born with these things? Because our parents, we don't just pass down physical characteristics. My nose is like my mother's and things of that nature. We pass down psychological traits, and it has been psychologically passed down to us to be as we are now, along with the way that the devil comes in and draws you out with what you like. And what do we like? We like what we are continuously advertised about or advertised to concerning. Like, people love it. And that's my boy, Terrence Howard, lived down the street from me, was my cat. Join the show now that promotes homosexuality. You know, you got a lot of things out here that we are continuously. Advertisement is a psychological situation because it plays on you because you begin to do whatever it is you're doing that you don't like. Martin Lawrence had it on the show one time, and Gina and Pam was at the spot listening to this guy, Don't You Know No Good. And they heard it for so long, they hated it, but when they drove off, they were singing it. It's like you can name an artist right now that you don't like, but you can say their name. Then you can sing some of the song that they sing. Why? Because advertisement keeps it in your face. So subconsciously, it's in your head. Your brain never forgets anything. That's what's going on. That's why we're doing this. So, in fact, the good news we declare, that we talk about this right here, it is veiled among those who are perishing, among whom the God of this system of things has blinded the minds of the unbelievers, so that illumination of the glorious good news about the Christ who is the image of God might not shine through. Now, why does it say, the world, the whole world? It doesn't mean the necessarily the whole world or the planet, but the majority. So remember, it talks about two roads. And the Bible says one is broad and spacious and many people are on it. Then the other one is cramped and crooked and not many people are on that one. Who runs the world? Presidents and things of that nature like that. Well, I'm not just talking about Obama. Well, I'll get in that another time. But you have people sitting on these seats. But who runs them? Let's look at two scriptures before we go to Daniel, because I'm going to go to Daniel and we're going to show you something else. It says, what happened after Jesus was baptized? The Spirit came down as a dove. A voice came from heaven and said, this is my son whom I'm approved and will approve again, right? What happened next? He was led off into the wilderness to be tempted by the ruler of this world, who is tempting us all with all the same things he tempted Jesus with. First, knowing he was hungry, right? Bread represents what? That's what he tried to get him to make. All forms of finances, not just literal food, but money and anything it can bring. The next was an attempt on his life. What can be done, or what can we say that meant? Drugs, licentious behaviors and pleasures, sex. We can go, I'm going to risk my life to do this, to sell some dope. I'm going to play with these hammers. I'm going to take a chance to do this and do that. White collar crime, under the table, all kinds of things, right? What you do is you risk your freedom and your relationship with God when you take on these types of behaviors. What is the third, but the most powerful thing he tried him with? You remember, what did he do? He took him up to a high mountain and said, what? I will give you all of these kingdoms of this world if you perform an act of worship to me. Now, everybody hearing about it in these times, right? People talking about the Illuminati societies and things of that nature who run the world. The seven families they talk about all kinds of situations, but possibly he even showed Jesus these things all the way into the future. Because remember, at the time, he's the devil, he's Satan, but he was a powerful angel. So he has the ability to do things. So he probably showed Jesus all the way up into our times. So if the thing is, did Jesus, who knows the truth, say, you don't own this, you can't give me nothing? Did he say that? He didn't say that. Why not? He didn't, because he knows the previous scriptures I spoke about in 2 Corinthians, which says what? We forget about that. That's what you got to look for it yourself. You forget, he said, the God of this system of things is blinding the minds about the truth, so that the glorious good news might not shine through. So we can do what? Become like Second Timothy. Boastful, proudful, no natural affection, disobedient to parents, having a form of godly devotion, but proving false to his works and his power. See what I'm saying? What did Jesus know that they didn't then? And that most of us do not pay attention to even today. Mainly because we do not really study the Bible. Let's look at Daniel chapter 10. Right? This is what he says right here. First, there was an angel that Daniel prayed, and Daniel was waiting for 21 days, man. He was on that. Now, it's hard for a human to fast for 21 days. Jesus did it, but this 40 days, 40 nights. But this Daniel prayed for this, and he was like in his 80s and 90s at the time. And the angel came and he said to me, do not be afraid, O Daniel. Your words have been heard from the first day that you gave your heart to understanding and to humbling yourself before your God. That means that God hear us when we praying. He said, and I have come because of your words. Guess what he says next? He said, but the prince of the royal realm of Persia stood in opposition to me for 21 days. But then Michael, one of the foremost princes, came to help me, and I remained there beside the king of Persia. As a matter of fact, it says the kings of Persia. Now, do you understand that? Now, this is an angel. Do you think a mere man held him back? Or is he traveling in realms and places and through past light speeds and other realms that we can't see? But he was stopped by the prince of Persia. The royal, it says the royal realm of the kings of Persia stood in opposition to him. And what you think that means? The kings stood in front of him. So who's really running these states? It's mayors and governors if they not really following the Bible. Who really running these countries if they not really following the Bible? You understand now how the God of this system of things, who is the devil, is running everything? So although there are kings and queens sitting in these seats and positions, who is really running everything? Now let's see where we are here. Then you go to Daniel, right? You go to Daniel and you go to Daniel chapter 2. And this is King Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar has a dream. And he telling all his magic practices of priests and everything like that. This is how God separates himself from God with the big G, separates himself from gods with the small G's, of those who are pretending to be gods and magicians and things of that nature. This king said, man, if y'all can't tell me what's going on, I'm not going to even tell you the dream so you can try to trick me. I ain't going to do that. He said, man, if you don't tell me what the dream was and interpret it, I'm killing all of y'all. That's how salty he was about this. He was just tired. That's how powerful the dream was to him also. This is what happened. He called Daniel, who worshiped the true God, Jehovah. He says, this is the dream, and we will now tell the king his interpretation. You, O king, the king of kings, to whom the God of heaven has given the kingdom, the might and strength and the glory, and into whose hand it has been given men wherever they may dwell, as well as the beasts of the field and the birds of the heavens, and whom he has made ruler over all of them. You yourself are the head of gold. Now, he's telling you that whoever sits on the throne as a king and judge, whatever the situation you are, he is allowing you to be there. But the thing is, you have to abide by his rules and regulations, or you're going to be punishable by him. And if you see a judge's oath of office, guess what it states? That they will be punishable by the Most High God for having false or untrue scales, being not doing the truth or what they're supposed to do. He said, but after you another king will arise, inferior to you, then another king of third one of copper that will rule over the whole earth. As for the fourth kingdom, it will be strong like iron, for just as iron crushes and pulverizes everything else, yes, like iron that shatters, it will crush and shatter all of these. And just as you saw the feet of the toes to the partly of clay of a potter and partly of iron, the king will be divided, but some of the hardness of iron will be in it, just as you saw the iron mixed with the soft clay. And as the toes of the feet were partly of iron and partly of clay, so the kingdom will be partly strong and partly fragile. Just as you saw iron mixed with soft clay, they will be mixed with the people, but they will not stick together one to the other, just as iron does not mix with clay. Now, when you look at this and you go look at this situation, now a lot of people don't like them, right? You got the Jehovah's Witnesses. And a lot of people don't like them, but think about this for a minute before you flip gangster. People didn't like Jesus. They killed him. They killed all the apostles and all that, right? So when you got this and you looking at this, you got the king Nebuchadnezzar. He was the head of gold. Why was he the head of gold? And I say that about the Jehovah's Witnesses had this book, and it's called "Pay Attention to Daniel's Prophecy." So the next time they knock on your door and you don't want to get on, think about how long you want to live, and think about the map, not just to where you want to go in your GPS somewhere, but think about the GPS to your life and how much longer you may have to live. Think about that. Get this book. It's called Pay Attention to Daniel's Prophecy. It's actually free. You can ask for it, but you can give a donation as well. Now, if you listen to this, the king of it was like the head was of gold. The head was of gold because Nebuchadnezzar, Babylon, was the only kingdom that ever he was crushed God's people. He was allowed to destroy the nation of Israel. Period. Then after that, you came with the arms were silver and the chest was silver. It was Medo-Persia. Medes and the Persians came together. Then after they broke up, they formed four kings or four kingdoms. And then after that came you had down from the stomach down to the thighs. That was Greece, which was who? Alexander the Great. Now then after that, yeah, it says that iron crushes everything. Nobody crushed anything like Rome did. Now you got Babylon did some tremendous situations. You had the Medo Persians did a lot of stuff. Nobody conquered faster than Alexander the Great with Greece. And then Rome, nobody conquered like Rome. But on top of this, when you read this book, it's going to tell you that each one of them was prophesied to fail. How long they would last, and even was named thousands of years in advance. Matter of fact, I think it was Cyrus. When he came, they brought him the scrolls. Like, man, this you. We talking about, look, and this is what you're going to do and how long you're going to last. Yeah, Rome was talking about how Rome would fold from the inside. Guess what? It did. When you go all the way down, the members started talking about the feet. It begins to talk about the feet and the toes. And when you start talking about the feet and the toes, it says that it's divided government. What government is that? What's government is divided? Are we not, you know what I'm saying, the Democrats and the Republicans? Are we not the Anglo-American world government, which is the United States of America and Great Britain? Are we not? Are we divided in the way that we deal with things? We're not the same as Great Britain, but we deal with Great Britain. Like all your attorneys and things of that nature, guess where they come from? Great Britain. They're under the Bar Association that's originated where? Okay, think about that. Now, aside from that, the situation is we have the Democrats and the Republicans. So we are a people and a government, but we're divided. We don't always stick together, as it says in Daniel, as it was prophesied. Now, remember, this is thousands of years ago that they would say this, all the way down to detail. Each king is named and everything, right, in the book of Daniel. Now, the killing part is when I'm talking about the GPS on your life, the GPS on how much longer we may have to live. I'm not just talking about you, I'm talking about me. Because if I don't do what I'm supposed to do, I ain't no different than you. I'm no different than anybody else. I'm going to be gone. So when it gets to talk about the toes on this thing, now I want to ask people, this is a statue that it's talking about. But when you assimilate the statue, or excuse me, when you correlate the statue with a real human body, what's under the toes? Nothing is under the toes, right? The feet is the last thing on the body, right? I don't care what type of body it is. The feet is the last thing on the body, right? So we look at Daniel chapter 2, verse 44 and see what that says. It says, in the days of those kings, that's real soon. It says, in the days of those kings, the God of heaven will set up a kingdom that will never be destroyed. And this kingdom will not pass on to any other people. It will crush and put an end to all these kingdoms, and it alone will stand forever. So, how much longer y'all think we got if we in the toes right now? Time to think about some things, huh? Time to get your GPS. Time to start really thinking about what we are doing in life and where we are going to go in life, especially if you got children, sons, daughters. It's time to really start thinking about not just yourself. It's time to, like I said in 2 Timothy, it's time to stop being so selfish. It's time to stop being, what does it say? We were born to be with no natural affection in these last days. It's time to start having affection. It's time to start understanding where we headed. Because guess what? We in the toes.